You've now received your papers for the special general meeting, and a number of you have asked me, what's this all about? So I thought it would be useful to give you my personal opinion. And it is my opinion, so you may want to seek out the opinion of others. So to answer that question, we need to go back more than 20 years to a time when the IET was run by a body called Council. It was a large body of about 80 people, and it found it quite difficult to make decisions with that many people in one group. So about 20 years ago, the IET changed its governance structure, and we moved from having Council to having the governing body as a board of trustees. 15 trustees, much smaller, more focused. But we retained Council in an advisory capacity, still at the same size. But despite the valiant attempts of many members over the years, that structure for Council has never really worked. It's too big to be effective. Its members aren't as well informed as the trustees on many issues and so struggle to give pertinent advice. And because it's become less effective, it's become less attractive to people, and so positions are remaining unfilled. So we decided a couple of years ago to look for a process to come up with a new governance. We've called it Governance for the Future. And that governance model has been something that we've developed over a number of meetings. We've talked to a lot of people, we've consulted, we've taken on board a wide range of views, and we've come up with a model which revolves around 3 main boards. Now at the moment we've got 2 boards, a Membership and Professional Development Board, which looks after all the member issues, and a Knowledge Services Board, which looks after publishing and events and so on. We think we should have a 3rd board, a Volunteer Engagement Board, that looks after the interests and needs of those members that are active in the IET. And collectively, the people from these 3 boards, we believe, can form Council. They can assemble after the board meetings in order to do the sort of things we want Council to do, provide advice to the trustees, look after our governance and so on. And this brings a lot of advantages. It's just about the right size, about 27 people. Also, those people are well informed. They're sitting on the main boards. They probably know more about what's going on than the trustees, and so they can provide advice to the trustees really effectively. And finally, we're going to require most of the trustees to have served on Council before they can make it to the trustee board. And that's a really useful thing to do, both to ensure that the trustees are well informed and experienced before they make it onto the board of trustees, and also to make Council more attractive to the top individuals because they can see it as a link through to a role as a trustee in due course. So those are our proposals. And we've taken those proposals to all the main boards, to the young professionals, and indeed even to Council, and all have overwhelmingly approved them. And I think it's very telling that Council, the body that it's being reformed, has voted overwhelmingly on 4 occasions for these proposals with over an 80% majority. But there's a group of about 80 members who dislike those proposals. What don't they like about them? Well, it's not always clear, and I've talked to them extensively on many occasions. But at the heart of it, they want a Council that is large, about 80 people big, and that is completely independent of all other parts of the IET, including the main boards and the trustees, and that controls its own intake. Why do they want this? Why are they saying this? Well, I think there's 2 reasons underlying this. The first, I think, is that many of them are harking back to that era I talked about when Council was the governing body of the IET. And indeed, a number of them actually served very well on that Council. And it's quite telling, if you look at the letter they sent you, that actually they used the post-nominals Fellow of the IEE and not Fellow of the IET. They want to go back to that particular era. But as I set out in my presidential address, the world's changed dramatically since then. We're now in an internet world, and we need a completely different kind of institution, one that's much more nimble with a different governance approach. So I don't think returning back to the Council of the 20th century is appropriate for the IET. The second reason is that they believe that the trustees and the Board of Trustees collectively will not always hold the best interests of the IET at heart, and therefore there needs to be some kind of policeman there ready to blow his whistle or raise his flag when he sees some kind of behaviour that he thinks is inappropriate? Well, there's a couple of problems with that. The first is that it doesn't set up a very trusting relationship between council and the Board of Trustees, and therefore I don't think we'll get the best advice between the two. And the second is actually it just won't work under our current governance structure anyway. The Board of Trustees is the top governance entity in the IET, and you can't have another board that tells it what to do or curtails its behaviour, because that then becomes the governing board in its own right. So it comes down to this. Do we want an IET that harks back to the good old days of the IE in the 20th century? Or do we want an IET that is fit for the internet era of the 21st century? And also, do we want an IET run by trustees who are elected who we believe in? Or do we want an IET where a small group of individuals who, whenever they feel they're not getting their way, call an SGM in order to bring about a different approach to our governance? I think these are really important points for the IET. And that's why it's critical that you vote. And I'd urge you to vote in favour of a nimble IET that can move ahead to the internet era that the trustees envisage and that we all want for the future. So please do take the 2 minutes or so that it takes to vote. It's really important. I hope that was helpful, and thank you for listening.